Porn damages your brain and imprisons your mind. I'm Dr. Trish Leigh. Let me tell you how to unlock it, pun intended. I'm a cognitive neuroscientist and sex addiction recovery coach. In this video, let's talk about number one, what do I mean by an imprisoned mind? And number two, how is your brain performance pattern related to that locking up of your mind and your ability to be on purpose? And then, of course, number three is literally the key to the padlock to unlock and open that cell to free you from the loop of compulsive behavior that drives you back into the screen. So let's break it down quickly and efficiently. Number one, what do I mean by imprisoned mind? Well, we know that when you inadvertently get stuck in a loop of compulsive behavior or quote unquote porn addiction, it means that you're driven back into the screen for self-soothing behaviors. Now, the reason is that there is discomfort in your mind. Now, your mind is a product of how your brain is performing. And the quick and dirty on that is that when your brain is in a calm, focused, optimal performance pattern, it's using medium speed, which makes you feel calm and focused. It's here in the middle. And when you get caught up in the loop of pornography consumption, we know from the science that your brain is out here using much too fast speed, which then fatigues it and slows it down so that it's using very slow speed simultaneously. So what you end up with is a pendulum effect of a very fast brain and a very slow brain simultaneously. Well, let me tell you, that brain doesn't feel good. It's not in that medium comfort zone of calm focus. It feels anxious. It feels overwhelmed. It feels the need to go back into the screen for more soothing and stimulation. So when it goes into the screen, unfortunately, the screen makes it worse, wiring and tiring that brain even more. That becomes the imprisoned mind. Your brain becomes dependent upon the effects of pornography, which drives you back into the screen. It literally becomes a loop. And we know what a compulsion is a need. That's the difference. If you feel the need to go into the screen to feel good, then you're caught up in the imprisoned mind and the loop that it creates. Now, what is an imprisoned mind? That goes back to number one, kind of number one and number two together. Number one, what I mean by an imprisoned mind is it's a mind that feels uncomfortable, like I've already talked about, but at the same time, it is a self-sabotaging habit. So it's a limited mind. It's a mind that's possessed, or it's being limited in its potential by itself. And we know that if you get caught up in this loop, you're self-sabotaging yourself. Someone said to me a few weeks ago, which I may have said in a video, I don't remember, where he said, this really is the most self-serving habit that there is. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's actually the most self-sabotaging habit that there is, because what you've taught your brain inadvertently is that all the feel-good feelings are in the screen. None of the feel-good feelings are in your life. That needs to be rewired and retrained in your brain to come out of the screen and to find all that dopamine, all that feel good, all the serotonin, oxytocin in the real world. Okay, so that's how your mind becomes imprisoned, and that's how the brain performance pattern changes. So we know, again, from the science that literally your frontal lobe becomes damaged. It struggles to be able to use judgment, and it struggles to be able to use executive function skills because of something called hypofrontality. The frontal lobe is dropped out in its functioning, and you're not able to think or to make the decisions or to be motivated enough to do the things that you need to do. And especially if you're caught up in the loop, it drives you back into the screen. Simultaneously, the midbrain is being desensitized. So when you go into the screen, there's tolerance that will build, and you will have escalation of your habit and a need for more stimulation, which gets you caught up in the loop even more. So that is how porn damages your brain imprisons your mind and keeps you stuck there for a very long time. I talked to one of my clients the other day, and if you're listening, I'm thinking about you, that consuming porn brings him to a really dark place and he gets trapped in it. And I've heard this from so many people. He gets trapped in it and can't come out because he doesn't even recognize who or where he is. That's what the imprisoned mind feels like. You know you're stuck in it. You don't know how you got there. You don't know how to get out, but you have a sense that it's not where you belong. So the key, dangle the key to the padlock. The solution is threefold. Here it is, number 3, and this is your brain tip strategy for today. And it's big. I gotta tell you that it requires going back to some of the videos that I post here and watching the brain tip strategies at the end, because the first thing that needs to happen is emotional maturity needs to be improved. It needs to be grown up. So we know if you found porn when you were young or in your teens, your brain never developed like it should have. So your emotional maturity and your ability to handle difficult stuff never matured to the point that it could have or should have. That needs to happen. You need to be able to develop skills to be able to handle difficult stuff better, which that requires emotional regulation, self-regulation skills. When things get difficult, approach and engage. Go do the thing that you need to do and don't escape and run away from it or hide from it because it just gets worse. Being able to move towards difficult things in a really healthy, positive way to solve them and to resolve them and to move through them, that's what needs to happen. But the reality is your emotional maturity has been stunted from porn use, but also likely from traumas or dysfunction in your family during childhood that leads to programming. And your programming is how you deal with the stuff. You might get angry. You might just go in your room and avoid it, avoid conflict. You might just pretend everything's fine. We all develop coping mechanisms when we're young. And if you have developed a porn habit, you likely didn't develop healthy ones, because guess what? Porn became your number one mood regulation tool that's in your toolbox. Now is the time to get more tools in your toolbox. So develop your emotional maturity, learn how to deal with difficult stuff, approach it, get solution, resolve the traumas and the dysfunction of the past. That's number 1 and 2, emotional maturity and mood regulation. Number 2 is in resolving trauma. And let me just say one more thing about that. Resolving trauma unlocks your brain. It creates more neuroplasticity, which allows you to do number 2, which is to choose new behaviors and actions. Act yourself into a new place in your life. And I know it's difficult to overcome urges and cravings, but when you take a new action, you're able to get a new outcome. I actually looked up who said that quote, that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and getting a new outcome, because I know it's attributed to Tony Robbins, it's attributed to Einstein, which there's no strong link there. There's actually a link to Alcoholics Anonymous, which I thought was interesting, but the point is valid. You can't do the same thing and get a new outcome. So it's time to transform your life like a beautiful butterfly. You know, you've got to go through the caterpillar to the chrysalis stage and then have your beautiful wings and become a new version of yourself. You can't be the old angry or lay on the couch version of yourself and achieve these goals. You have to act yourself into new thought processes by using new routines, new habits. Think yourself in a new way, but start acting. So change something today. Do something different than you did yesterday to get a new outcome. Go for a walk, go for a run, call a friend, do the work you've been avoiding, pay a bill, do something different so that you can get a new outcome. Because what that does is it moves you into the third phase, which is to keep hardwiring in this new pattern through your action steps, which changes your mind, which changes your attitude, which frees you. And when you hardwire in this new foundation, it's the foundation you protect. And it allows you to get on purpose in your work. Everybody should have work they like. It allows you to be present in your relationships and connect with people at a new, deeper level than you've been before. And it allows you to do your hobbies, because that is going to keep you in this beautiful spot of creating the new version of yourself. Okay, so free your mind and the rest will follow, right? Oh, I probably shouldn't sing. I know how much Some people don't like that. Free your mind, and this way you can do all those things and create the life that you want. Leave the screen behind, get over those initial urges, get on purpose in your life, and let's rock this thing out because you deserve it. Okay, if you want help on that journey, please reach out to me, drtrishleigh.com. And until next time, control your brain or it'll control you.